And blessings to you wherever this video is reaching you. Yes, I have a YouTube channel, but I also share my video on my Facebook page, so you can follow me at Tracy Garwood, Garwood, or on TikTok, Unchurched with a Tee. Okay, but I am here because I did a live and it was shortened. So this is part 2 of Are You Toxic? Okay. So the reason I'm on here and I'm talking about toxicity is because I am doing a 21-day challenge, okay? And it's called the No Strife Challenge. Hey, whoever that is, okay? So this challenge is about addressing strife within your life, okay? Toxicity. All right, and that's why this live is talking about toxicity. Okay, you may be dealing with a toxic person, or you may have some toxicity in your life, right? And we all can do it, whether we spiritual, whether we're non-spiritual, whatever religion you are. Each of us can be toxic at different times, right? So I was looking at toxic traits, right? So you may not be a 100% toxic person, but you may have some toxic traits, right? So some toxic traits I want to share: gaslighting, controlling, blaming, jealousy, entitlement, having a sense of entitlement, ignoring people boundaries, right? If somebody is telling you no, you are just constantly crossing boundaries, or somebody is crossing yours, right? You may be in a relationship. How do I get out of this relationship, right? How do I make this relationship better? You have to address toxicity. And as I was reading the toxic traits, I was like, oh God, I may be a little toxic, right? Especially being a content creator. If you're online, you can be toxic. You know what I'm saying? You can have leave toxic comments if something is triggering you, right? But some toxic traits is, lack of accountability, right? Playing the victim, right? Are you playing the victim instead of, taking accountability for your life? Do you, want people to feel sorry for you so you can continue to manipulate, right? Playing the victim. Arrogant, being critical, gossipy, insincere apology, right? You may apologize, but you may not be sorry about it. Having a passive aggressive nature, right? So you may say, well, I might not get somebody back right now, but sleep on it a while, right? You may have plans to do something to this person who have harmed you, right? That is toxicity. It's a toxic trait, right? So if I would define a toxic person, it is a toxic person is someone whose actions and behaviors consistently bring negativity, right? So, we have to address toxicity even within ourselves, because we may attract toxic people, right? Consistently bringing negativity, conflict, harm to relationships, often through manipulation, control, or being abusive, right? You find yourself, putting your hands on somebody, whether you're a woman or a man. You should not be putting your hands on anybody. Now, if it's to defend yourself, I don't know. But just getting into an altercation where it comes to fighting with somebody is toxic, right? How did it even get to that level? Even when you talk about anger, it's stages of anger, right? You may have a disagreement, or it may have a situation, but it's how you address this situation. A lot of people don't know how to walk away from a situation. They want to stay in conflict. I mean, if you look on social media, it's always, if you see a fight or if you see something like that, are you scrolling away or are you looking at it? Because if you look at it, the algorithm is going to keep sending you violent or fighting videos, right? That's how the algorithm works, right? So toxicity. addressing toxicity within you. Are you toxic, right? So you may say, well, yeah, I'm a toxic person. So let me explain to you the consequences, right? There are consequences of being a toxic person, right? I was looking at this video with Kevin Gates, and he was telling the ladies, he's an attractive man. He was like, yeah, I'm toxic, but you gonna love it over here. And I'm like, well, you know what? How am I supposed to love toxicity? But some of us do love toxic men. We do. We love them. We love the bad boys, right? We love the ones that can be disrespectful. And some men may love toxic women, right? Some people may feel if you don't argue with me, you don't care about me, right? And that's toxic within ourselves. That comes to emotional intelligence, right? Why would you want toxicity in your life, right? In your environment? So that's what we're talking about. So long story short, y'all, I'm going on this 21-day challenge, a no strife challenge, right? So it's detoxing from strife, right? And if you want to please God, you definitely don't want to continue to live in a toxic, strifeful environment. And sometimes we don't realize that our toxicity can push people away. Right, you in and out of relationships, right? And I can tell you, some things about I've been divorced, right? And it takes two people to keep a relationship, and it takes two people to keep it together. So guess what? Accountability. Taking accountability for your part, right? Having patience with people. Sometimes we don't have patience with people. It's like, especially if you're in a failed relationship, it's like the next relationship, if somebody do this, so you paying somebody back for what the next person did. Right? When they don't have anything to do with your past relationships. But it all goes back to toxicity. Are you toxic? Do you want to address the toxicity? Because like I said, it's consequences with being toxic. You can lose things, right? You can lose your job. You can go to jail. You can go to prison. Where do you think toxic people? And a lot of people can say, oh, okay, I have mental health problems. That's my reason. But people with mental illness go to jail too. So that's more of a reason to address, the toxicity or the strife that is within us, right? Because if you're working on being a better person, a better mother, having a better relationship, right? Being a better coworker, being a better daughter, being a better it's not just in relation, in a man and a woman relationship. It could be you can't get along with nobody in your family, right? And sometimes we think it's the person being toxic, but if you are in a argument with it every month, you into it with somebody. So sometimes when you point the finger at some people, sometimes the other three fingers is pointing back at you. Why can't you get along with people? Why is it always why do you find yourself always in an altercation? Now that's going to do some soul searching. Don't answer that right away. But every time you turn around, you in an argument with somebody, you got to get your gun, you got to get, somebody is threatening you. Maybe you may be a toxic person. Because toxicity is a spirit. It's a spirit, right? And it's something within us that wants to be argumentative. It's something that is with us that wants to be controlling. Like I don't think the live that I shared on part one, I was told by somebody that I'm controlling. I was like, well, dang, really? Do I want my way? Do I impress my opinions upon other people, especially being a content creator? Sometimes you can impress your opinions on people, right? Your opinion is not always fact. My opinion is not always fact, right? So we have to think of that. But like I said, it's consequences for being a toxic person. It's consequences for being in a relationship with a toxic person. You may say, well, that person is going through that. That's how that person was raised. I made excuses for being in a relationship with a toxic person. Well, they didn't mean to hit me. They seen their mother get abused. So, that's all they know. So that's not a excuse for them to be abusive to you. And being toxic is making excuses for people that are toxic. You can't make no excuses for somebody that's toxic. You better run the other way, right? Because if you do, you can be a part of whatever they're toxic, if they're abusive, right? If they're verbal abuse is toxic. And a lot of times people say that your words won't hurt you. Oh, yes, they do. Because the Bible says that death and life is in the power of the tongue, right? And they that love it or eat its fruit, you're going to reap the benefits of what you say, because that is how faith is, shown. What you say, that it could be faith, right? What you believe, what you speak, whatever goes on an assignment. But let's go back to what it originated. Your words go on an assignment to create what you say, what you speak, what you say about somebody. Oh, I'm sick of that person. Okay, I'm sick. And we may say, oh, it's just words. God knows I heard. No, the Bible said that death and life is in your tongue. What you speak, that's just how God, he spoke this world into existence because of his words, right? So your words, they create what you say, right? And it comes from what you feel, what you say, right? The Bible says it's not what goes in you that defiles you, but it's what comes out. So sometimes we can have evil, demonic thoughts, but if it comes out your mouth, right? If it comes out, if you have loose lips, they say loose lips sink ships, right? Hey, whoever that is, thanks for joining. So every year I go on this no strife challenge, this 21 days of peace, right? So it's 3 weeks, right? So the first week is detoxing from strife, right? Strife, like I said, is toxic. Anything that's toxic, being argumentative, right? Somebody say something to you, well, during the no strife challenge, you can't argue with nobody. That's the challenge. You can't cuss nobody out, right? You got to walk away. If you want now what the gift or what you receive from being less toxic, right? Or what you receive is 21 days of peace. I'm talking about the peace that passes all understanding. And some of us right now today can't get no peace, right? You haven't held on the job. You haven't held in your home. You haven't held in your relationship. I don't know why, but you got to make some changes. And sometimes, what I say, you can't change the world. You can only change how you react to the world. How are you reacting to stress and strife? Because if you continue to be a stressed out person, stress starts to attack the body, and you find yourself getting sick. You find yourself keep getting sick, right? Because stress, the body doesn't know how to react to stress, so it starts to affect your organs, right? So it starts to make you sick. It starts to exacerbate little things that's going on within you, and they become big things. And that's how we become sick. Why do you think when you go to the doctor and you're sick, they'll ask you, the first thing that they're asking you, how are you dealing with stress? Right? How are you reacting to stress? Do you have, and then they want to prescribe you some medication, right? But you're going to have to do some coping skills, because you can't, unless you want to be on medication all your life. And that's going to entail you to deal with your stress, to address toxic things, and how are you reacting to toxic and stressful things, right? Like I said, are you a toxic person? Do you find yourself getting into arguments and everything? You can't continue to do that, because that's blood pressure. You want to stroke out? Keep addressing every little thing. You got to know when to pick your battles. Every battle is not meant to fight. So why do you think that God says, if you hold your peace, God said that I will fight your battles? But no, we don't want to do that. And I'm talking about myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about myself, because I done went on this No Strife Challenge, I think, for 4 years. And every time when I come around, I can still see some toxic things that I have to address. Because we pick up toxic ways. We go through different situations in our lives, some that we never thought we would be in. Some relationships that we never thought we would be in. How did I get in this? Because of toxicity, right? Because of toxicity. So this No Strife Challenge, like I said, when I went on it, I cried. I was going through a very toxic relationship, right? I was toxic, just like the person. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get you back. You did this to me. I'm gonna I'm gonna do that to you. And God was like, don't you do another thing. Don't argue back and forth with them. Because like I said, when you get into a dispute and an argument and people start fighting or doing whatever they have to do to defend themselves, arguments escalate. Very, very seldom do you, when you look at some type of dispute, if you could just look back at some situations that you have been in, what happens is the disagreement, it escalates, right? So somebody did something to you, so you start having words. So then they say something to trigger you. So you go on this level, right? And then, they may go on another level because you saying something to trigger them. And then they say something else, because if you go lower, I'm going to go lower, right? If you go low, I'm going to go lower, right? So that's how, arguments and disagreements, they escalate. And yeah, it be the devil. The devil says, say this. Talk about their dead mother. Talk about how they never graduated. You can I'm telling you, the devil will give you something to say to somebody. And before you know it, you in a fight over a parking space. You get mad because somebody cut in front of you. You know what I'm saying? You mad when really God can be keeping you from an accident. But you want to be first in front of somebody while you driving. You know what I'm saying? So this challenge is going to help us to decrease the strife within us, right? So we detoxing. That means no cussing, no disputes, no confronting, no arguing for 21 days, y'all. For 21 days. No, somebody say something to you that you don't like. No, I'm not going to argue with. Oh my God. Especially at work. This is one person. may say to this person, right? So I said, Lord, I'm not gonna and I'm go one is right, well something, or if they just one is right, well something, or if they just don't like you, you know, they with this person because the person is gonna go blow for blow. Right? Didn't person lose, their job or whatever, but if you hold your peace, if and me, I don't want nothing to happen to nobody, but I I'm a person that I stand on the word of God. God will fight my battles, and I'm telling you, and I walked in that office, it was so much peace. And I know the people in that office, it was so much peace. And I know the people in the office that work with the person. You is that I said seven are in the seventh nation to God, and it talks about a person that sows seeds of discord. So you know how a person will tell you something and then they'll tell the other person. God said that's an abomination to him. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm not doing that. I'm always self-reflecting, right? Hey, thanks for joining, whoever that is. So, yeah, addressing strife within you. We can't continue to live a strifeful life because it's always a cap. It's always a cap. If you're in a relationship with a strifeful person, you can't go toe-to-toe with them. You know what I'm saying? Especially like if you're in a relationship, you find out they're cheating. You talk about bringing the worst. Yeah, if I would tell y'all some things that I did to a person that I was in a relationship with, so I found out that they were cheating, right? No. I found out that they had stayed out, right? So the agreement in the relationship was, we're not staying out, right? So they was kept being late, right? So I had now this is confession. Now when I say confession, y'all, that means y'all can't judge me. But anyway, I say, okay, they gonna come back, keep coming in late. So they came through the front door, right? And I've been in a relationship, I've been in a couple of relationships, so the person don't know who I'm talking about. But the person that, if they on here, they know. But anyway, so what I did was I took all the light bulbs out of the room, right? And before I did that, I had put, okay, like the chair was right here, right? And the couch was right here. I put a stick from the chair to the bed, to the other couch, right? So when the person come in, they're going to trip over it, right? And I was doing other stuff. I mean, it was just evil. And I'm telling you, the devil was like, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I was doing it too. So when a person, so I took all the lights out, right? And I put something over there. So when they come in, I mean, it was like about this much space. The door, then boom, boom, and that thing, right? So they come in, right? And I went to bed, right? So I was laying in the bed waiting for them to call. I didn't go to sleep or nothing like that. But I heard this like boom, 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 right? And I was like, And but what if that person would have hit their head and died? You know what I'm saying? I thought it was funny. I thought I got them back and everything like that. And I'm telling you, I was doing some things. So I was being passive aggressive, right? I wasn't, approaching them about it. I just said, yeah, I'm going to get them back. But I'm telling you, it's consequences. People land in jail. It was only by the grace of God. And I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit told me, don't you do nothing else to that man. Don't you do nothing else. He tripped up the stairs, knocked the tooth out. I didn't have to knock no teeth out. tripped, knocked his teeth out. It was just stuff happening to him. But God was like, no, don't you do nothing else. It's time to go. And you don't realize, sometimes we don't realize the build up that is in us when people do things to us. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta let it go. Because you don't want to end up, I'm telling you, you know how you see those reality shows and you see people saying things that they did, how they wound up in jail because they did something to a person. And it be people that be temporarily insane. They done lost their mind, and now they're thinking, why did I do that? You know, why did a moment of anger cost me my life? A moment of anger will cost you your freedom. It will cost you everything. So if you're in a situation where you're being toxic, you gotta get a hold of yourself. I gotta get a hold of myself. I'm going on it just like I'm encouraging everybody else. So I do this on my women's group, and I'm gonna share this to my women's group as well. Hey, what's up, women of power? But we do this, 21 days of peace. Like, so I said for the challenge, no confronting people, no addressing problems, walking away, not cursing nobody out or things like that. Now, you may have to discipline your kids, but it's all types of ways of disciplining your kids. You can take stuff away from them. You don't have to, just go into rages, right? You can think about what you're going to say before you say it. Because a lot of times, discipline is not just, saying the first thing that you think of. It's, having time to process what you're going to say. And so this challenge helps to do that. This no strife challenge. So on the first week, it's, not addressing situations, not confronting, not arguing, not cursing, not debating, none of that, even online. And I'm telling you, online, I could be triggered by people, especially when people are being racist. I can just go from A to Z, but I can't do that because I'm on the no strife and I shouldn't be doing that anyway, right? So everybody has an opinion, and it could be different from yours, right? You can express your opinion without being negative, without being toxic. People are allowed to express their opinions, right? So yeah, I could be toxic, especially online. So, it's good. It's good for your spirit. It's good. Like I say, the reward is peace. And I'm telling you, like I said, I was going through this breakup, right? And I wasn't arguing with this person. And I was quiet, and I'm telling you, I would scream in my pillow. I would be like, I want to tell this person exactly how I feel. No, I don't want this person using that. We was living together, right? I don't want this person using nothing to man. No, you can't eat no food. God was like, no, don't let them do whatever they gonna do, right? Let them, if they want to stay out, let them stay out all night. So I did a lot of praying, right? I did a lot of reading my word. I did a lot of, just addressing how I speak to people and how it lands upon their ears, right? How do I talk to people, right? Am I quick to speak? Like the Bible says, if you're slow to speak, you will be slow to the wrath, right? Or slow to the consequences of negative speaking, right? Because it can trigger other people. Before you know it, you in an argument, right? So the second week is detoxing from strife, right? and just addressing strife within us, right? That's the second week. And then just talking about peace, right? Proclaiming your peace, walking in your peace, being a peaceful person. Do you know you can command your environment? You can command your environment. I'm talking about how if you want a peaceful home, you got to be a peaceful person. You got to be a person of prayer, right? I try to pray before I drive, especially because people, I drive kind of slow, right? So a lot of people be blowing at me. A lot of people may be blowing at me or whatever because they may not like, but I'm not, you're not going to rush me. So, I want that person to go around, so I'm going to drive, but I'm not going to rush or anything like that. So you may be one of the people that be trying to rush me, but no, I don't. Or I'll move over and let that person go through. So I try to pray when I drive, right? Or pray before you go to work. Right? Ask God to bless your environment. Ask God to have his angels encamped around not just you, but your kids. Your kids can be around strifeful people or toxic friends. Your kids can have toxic people. That's why we have to be prayerful. Right? So I'm encouraging you to go on this journey, right? So the No Strife Challenge, it is starting April, let me see. Let me bring up my calendar. I want to tell y'all the wrong date. But I'm going to be sharing some videos, and I'm going to be, just sharing how I'm doing throughout this No Strife Challenge, because it is a challenge. Like I said, my sister was like, you could be a little toxic. She said you can be a little controlling, right? So that's not, that's strifeful. I can't oppress my opinions on other people. So the No Strife Challenge, it starts April the 6th and it ends April the 26th on Saturday. So it starts Sunday and it ends Saturday, the 26th of April. So 21 days of peace. 21 days of peace. So wherever this video is, reaching you, I encourage you to go on this journey with me, Unchurched Talk with the T, all my subscribers. However, when you see this video, go on this journey with me, okay? Go on this journey, 21 days of peace. 21 days of peace. We're not addressing nothing. We addressing what is in us, and how we are reacting to the world, right? Because God can give you a peace that will pass all understanding, right? God can give you a peace that whatever is going on, you got peace in your soul. It is well with your soul. Whatever is going on, right? All right. So I love you all. Thanks so much for popping in, popping out. I see a lot of people popping in and popping out. Thank you so much for coming on, for liking, for subscribing. Please subscribe to my channel. I've been out of commission for about a month, but I've been self-care. Sometimes you can't be online. Sometimes you got to, life, we think life is on social media. It's a whole world out there. And sometimes I, try to address, give myself some self-care. So I went on my first cruise, y'all, and I had a ball. I did. It was my first cruise. And, just taking time out for myself. But I'm ready to start back, doing my lives, sharing content and things of that nature. So I love you. I pray that you have a blessed weekend. I always say I pray that the sun is shining in your life, right? Whatever you're going through, God can address any situation, right? And I was gonna say, my pastor, he always say, all things, are possible if you stretch your faith. So yes, stretch your faith. I share my I go to a church that is online, right? So ever since the pandemic, I've been, following this ministry, Faith Stretchers Ministry, right? With Pastor D and our First Lady Peggy, right? So it's really a blessing. You can watch the sermon from anywhere. But I love you so much. Thank you for just popping on, popping in and out. So go on this journey with me, this no strife challenge, 21 days of peace, 21 days of eliminating the toxicity that is within us, right? So we can be a better person for ourselves. We can be a better person for God. We can just be overall a peaceful person. Don't you want to live in peace? I do. I want to live in peace. So I love you all. Have a great weekend. And hey, I will talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to Unchurched Talk with the T. Be blessed.